era. Uh, we had similar undersea cables with Singtel and from India to Singapore. How are those cables doing? And has that experience, taught us how to effectively manage this technology?
So it's not rocket science in terms of undersea cables. What's happened over time is following Moore's law in terms of the number of chips that will increase the capacity of the resistor. Similarly, for undersea cables, the amount of information through that OFC that you can push through. So the same cable width can transmit exponentially greater amount of data bits into the system. And therefore, the large volume of data that comes in. And the key issue is separating domestic traffic from ILD traffic. So that's part one. Part two is that the undersea cables have become many more in number, because connectivity to Africa is separately, connectivity to the Middle East is separate, connectivity to Singapore is separate, connectivity to the rest of ASEAN is separate, and then off to to Europe and to the Americas. So the number of cables that are coming in, because the amount of data that's being consumed has also grown tremendously. And with our targets that we are looking at over Bharat 6G, when 6G technology becomes all pervasive, is to ensure 100 Mbps per customer. We're today at 20 Mbps, so we're looking at a jump of 5. We were at 1.5 Mbps 10 years ago. So guaranteeing 100 Mbps per customer, making sure you're able to give 1 petabyte per gram panchayat. And so the amount of data that's going to be consumed is going to be exponentially larger. And so you'll have to have both on a domestic basis and an international basis. And for the international basis, you'll have to have many more undersea cables that are laid.
Mr. Scindia, let me also ask you. A question is often asked.
So, for example, and even for the domestic side, so we've laid an undersea cable to connect to the Andamans. We've laid an undersea cable successfully to connect to Lakshadweep. Both have been close to about 1,000 crore projects that were inaugurated by the Prime Minister in late 23, early 24.
Let me also ask you about the fact that it's often said, and you face these questions in Parliament, on public sector undertakings under your ministry, Bsnl. Many infusions of capital later. What is the status, and how would you justify government being in the core point of running the telecom sector through this PSU?
So I think that, so let me give you the backdrop. In the telecom sector globally, you have very few countries that have more than 2 national players. And we are very lucky in India to have 4 national players. One of them is Bsnl. It's extremely important, I believe, from the social perspective as well, until you're able to connect every single village across this country with OFC and broadband and all of that, to have that capability in a government provider. The government has infused close to about 3.04 lakh crores into Bsnl. A lot of that had to do with legacy issues as well. For example, we had a VRS that was in place for almost about 50,000 crores. That also includes, the figure I gave you includes the spectrum that was given to Bsnl, which is an accounting entry, because the capital infusion that comes in also goes out back to the CFI in terms of payment for that spectrum, which is almost 75,000 crores out of that 3 lakh crores. And then also part of BharatNet, which is our OFC venture, is part of that. But having said that, I am extremely glad to report to you and through you to all our esteemed members sitting here today and the millions that are watching on your channel, that for the first time For the first time in 17 years, and 17 years is a long time in economics. For the first time in 17 years after 2007, Bsnl has made a net profit for the quarter of October to December. Bsnl has not made a net profit for the last 17 years on any quarter. This quarter, December 31st, we closed at 262 crores to be exact net profit, number one. Number two, we've kept our expenses in check. Number three, we've made an operating profit since this capital infusion came in. From 2021, we made an operating profit. So for those of you who understand accounting, on an EBITDA basis, we've made an operating profit from 2021 onwards. 23-24, last year, we made an operating profit of 2,100 crores. This 9 months, so I'm taking 9 months, so if you do pro rata of that, 9 months, April to December, we made an operating profit of 2,400 crores. So in 9 months, we've made 10% more than for the full year of last year. And finally, our loss last year was close to 5,500 crores. As of Q3 FY 24-25, which ends quarter ending December 31st, our loss has been narrowed by close to 1,800 crores.
How did you crack the
So
whip?
we are turning it around.
How did you crack the whip?
I cracked no whip. Credit for this goes A, to the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, B, to every employee of my Bsnl, who have worked tirelessly to ensure that we turn around the ship and make sure it's value accretive to Bharat.
As always, it's a pleasure talking to you, and especially the way forward.